And now we are live. Pop that can, sir. This is
Yeah.
Michael Kormoroff from Brooklyn, New York, part of the beer community without a channel, but he likes joining. So he decided, because for some strange reason yesterday, my supervisor came over to my desk and dropped off this little bag, and it had 4 cans of beer in it. She said, "Oh, I thought you might like this." And I'm seeing this. You can already tell what this is going to be. I'm seeing Heady Topper of all damn things in there, and I like for a good minute I'm going, what did you just bring to my desk? What? Why did I deserve? Okay, so I
think I like this.
I got this beer. I got I think there's 4 of them from the Alchemist. This beer, I think one was called Crush, and the other 2.
Focal banger they make. I'm not sure if that was one of the ones that was there.
That's the other 2 are the Focal Banger. So this one, Crush, the Crusher, and the Focal Banger. Now
I've had the Crusher as well.
I hear a lot of. I'm reading a lot of good things about that one. So I'm very, very, very intrigued. So, according to Wikipedia, we have this being, and the Rate Beers and Beer Advocate say it as well. This is an India Double Pale Ale in the American or in the New England style from the Alchemist in Stowe, Vermont. It's 8% alcohol by volume. It's unpasteurized. It is now number 2 at this moment on the top 250 beers on Beer Advocate in the world. And they don't really tell you anywhere what kind of hops or what kind of ingredients are brewed in this beer. And they say it's between $5 and $8 per one of these cans, $13.45 after tax. And yeah, you can stand in lines for hours on end to get this beer. So we're glad that we had 2 people on my end and on Michael's end that supplied this beer. So I'm going to thank a girl named Nicole. I will save her last name, and you can thank the person that gave you that beer.
Hope and Mati.
There you go. Anything you want to add to this while I try to find our little chat?
Well, the last time I had this, Hope and Mati also came back for Vermont with some of it, and I was able to try it, and you've had it, so you know, but it's amazing beer.
Absolutely. Let me try to pull up. I'm going to try to pull up this live chat now. It says we have 3 viewers watching live, so I'm going to get this live.
You've had it, so you know, but it's amazing beer.
Absolutely. Yep. Let me quickly pop out this chat so I can have it live on the side while we review the said beer. Tyler Mansell watches live, and he says, "What up, Eric?" John Anil says, "Good evening, guys, and good evening to all of you watching on YouTube and around the world." Now, they tell you, oh, yeah, they tell you, look at that. Whoa. They tell you not to put it in a can because it's disgustingly dirty looking. So drink it from the can, but I'm putting it in the glass. They say if you must pour it in a glass, you may find that some of the hop resins have settled to the bottom. Leave them in the can when pouring. This beer is okay. So yeah. All right. Well, I just did that. So there you go. All right. So one of the best New England IPAs or best beers in the world, potentially. Let's find out about that. What do you think of the appearance thus far?
It looks like other New England style in the haziness that you're looking at in the beer. Nice head, nice white head.
Nice bright white head like you would get on those beers. They definitely the haze, as they say in my neck of the woods in Massachusetts, haze for days.
Okay, well, a lot of haze.
All right.
And good looking beer.
Got some lacing for sure at 8%. What are you smelling in that? This is made, John and Neil, this is made by the Alchemist. It's rated number 2 in the world, and it's what really got the New England style IPAs all started. But what are you smelling in this beer?
Well, I'm getting your typical hop kind of front, but it's even more intense than your average double to me.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these beers, just so everybody has a good description in their mind about a New England style IPA, a lot of them use anywhere between Galaxy, Citra, Columbus hops. I'm trying to think of any other kind of hops that might be out there that they would use. Centennial and Chinook are more like a West Coast style. They use more of these hops in the beer that create a juice quality, a juicy note of a pineapple or a grapefruit or oranges. And they also use a white wheat malt or a flaked wheat malt, or maybe even an oat, maybe even some flaked oats in there to give it a really fluffy mouthfeel. So we can only assume that that's what they're using in ingredients. And in the nose, to me, that all of that is exactly what you're smelling.
Big. Right. I agree. You're getting a lot of those C kind of hops. I'm not sure which ones they are. Either your Citra, your Columbus, all those C. The C
gotta be a lot of Galaxy and Citra. I have
Galaxy too.
Galaxy's a big one.
Definitely. Very nice nose though.
Yeah, definitely grapefruit. Definitely the big three I talk about are grapefruit, pineapple, and orange. I get all of that.
They're all there.
Underneath it, I get a nice bready malt, maybe a little bit of a lemoniness, but a nice white bready malt underneath.
Right.
There is a little bit of a citrus, like an oily hop resin, a little bit of a stickiness I can tell it's in there. It's not like a West Coast where there's a whole bunch of caramel or toffee malts or any like toasty notes. It's not like that. It's more like just tropical fruit.
Are you also getting a little bit of like light onion?
Yeah, you know what? A
little bit more. It's subtle.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that onion, garlicky, dank green.
It's more subtle. It's underneath. It's not a front leading thing, but it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. I am looking forward to this. Nicole, my supervisor, thank you for the beer.
Open Monty, thanks again.
Hell, thanks.
Cheers. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, this is hop stupidly good. Yes, pun intended, Lagunitas. Eat your heart out. John O'Neill says, I typically prefer the East Coast IPAs or the hopped West Coast ones. I do like Lagunitas, though. Yeah, this finish here in the beer, to me personally, is much more of that dank quality of the onion and the garlic. It's a very dank beer at the end, I would say initially, but then it does a pretty good amount of drying for me. Up front, I'm getting all of those big threes: grapefruit, pineapple, and orange. And there's a little bit of that bready malt again, sweetness underneath for me. There is a little bit of a lemoniness underneath all of that for me. And there definitely is some hop oils and some hop resins to it.
I'm getting all that same citrus you're getting with some of the malt sweetness. I think the nice thing is that dankness on the back end is really good. It really finishes off the beer rather well.
I find the lacing to be nice, yes, in my IPA glass.
Yep.
I find that the beer initially, I'm going to talk about the body here because I find that to be kind of interesting. Yeah. I seem to find that I wouldn't call it a heavy mouthfeel. I would say it's a straight up, I would say it's medium to full, but more on the medium side. And then as you swallow the beer and as it finishes, it starts to thin out to me in the mouthfeel a little bit.
Yeah, it does get a little thinner, but the thinning that it does do adds to the finish. Absolutely. It adds to the buildup.
Yep. I like what I had mentioned about, like I had mentioned that some of these beers in the New England style IPA range and pale ales, they like to use a white wheat or a flaked wheat or some kind of an oaty malt to give it almost a fluffy kind of a texture and a consistency. That's exactly what I'm getting. I mean, number one, look at the head. I don't know. Ooh, a lot of carbonation. I don't know if you can even see it right there in the middle. There's a little, it almost looks like a dollop of sour cream. It's that. To me, it's that fluffy in consistency that I'm getting that kind of a flavor, a smooth, fluffy mouthfeel to it.
Also, I don't think we could say enough how important it is that you have this beer fresh, because once those hops fade, the beer is going to go downhill quickly.
Yeah, we got a Backwoods. Yeah, John O'Neill, before I get to Backwoods, Billy Craft Beer, John O'Neill says onion and garlic, ? Interesting notes that you guys are picking up. And an onion and garlic is what are typically known in IPAs as that dank quality, almost like a smokable green herbaceous kind of a Woodstock note from 1969, if you know what I mean. If you've ever smoked marijuana, I assume that that's what they mean when they say dank in that world. So yeah, I think yeah, Woodstock fans would be all over this beer. Hippies and what do you call them? Hipsters, even that they don't like craft beer, they seem to like this one for some strange reason. But
the taste profile, Eric, though, too, the lead taste stays on your mouth too. It doesn't. There's no fade.
you don't think this is an extremely dry beer?
It is dry at the end, but the main taste does linger.
Oh. Yeah, I guess there is.
No, there's dryness. I'm not saying there's not dryness at the end.
Yeah.
There is, but aren't you still picking up the main taste?
You're still talking about a lot of the. You're still talking about more of the tropical juice notes than you are about any of the oil or resin notes.
Right. I'm talking more about the pineapple notes, if there are some, and that kind of feel.
I would agree with that. Backwoods Billy Craft Beer, hello sir, says Heady Topper used to be an extremely hopped beer. As the IPA increased, IBUs took over. This is now no longer that hopped. He also says Dogfish Head Brewing, 90-minute IPA, Flying Dog, The Truth, Imperial IPA, Finn City Brewing, Co's, Weed IPA. I guess those are good ones. He also says hi. And Friar Tuck says hops, I believe, are the only one molecule removed from cannabis. So, all right, there you go. There's some food for thought on you. Is this, as we're drinking this and now we're sort of thinking about a rating, part of my questioning here, and even when I reviewed it initially when it was 5th in the world, is this really a number 2 best beer of all time in the world right now? Do you think it's that outstanding?
Probably not. But
I guess
it is a well-made beer.
I'm a little spoiled where I live because I'm about 25 minutes from where I live and about 5 to 10 minutes from where I work to get to Trillium Brewing Company that makes shit like this on a daily basis for me to get. So I'm a little biased.
I'm also half a mile from Other Half, which also makes things like this too. Unfortunately, you have to wait on these monstrous lines to get it, but you can get it.
One thing that I think that's kind of separating, for me personally, separating a Heady Topper. What organization rated this number 2, John and Neil? Out of 250 of the highest rated beers on Beer Advocate, this is number 2 right now, the Heady Topper. I guess John O'Neill needs to get some New England IPA in his life stat to figure out why this style is the bomb. But I guess I'm a little spoiled with Trillium and people like Night Shift because I think those are not much better beers, but I think they are better beers, and I think they do the style a little bit better. One of the hardest things to do in this New England style IPA or trying to create beers like that, or juice bombs as we call them, is to replicate that mouthfeel. That mouthfeel is so critically, that fluffy texture from the wheat or from the oats is so hard to replicate that I think some companies do it wrong, and I think this is obviously a company, the Alchemist, that does it right. And I think Trillium does that even better. Anybody can make a hoppy beer, but to get that mouthfeel and texture is just a different thing altogether, which is what I like about it.
Have you tried Treehouse Green?
I have not tried any of this Treehouse stuff yet, and I don't know why.
You have to somehow get somebody to get you some because their stuff is amazing too.
I'm about maybe 40 minutes from where they are in Charlotte.
Also hard beer to get with major lines and the whole bit.
Yep. Cheers to the beer community, says Tyler Mansell. Friar Tuck says, I'm not a cannabis partaker, but I have a relative who is, that informed me of the chemistry between it and hops. All right, so back to beer.
It's just formulating your number?
Yeah, just a little bit. One of the things that I do like that I don't know is particularly what I'm looking for in this kind of beer is I'm actually getting a little bit of a hoppy spice in there as well. There's a little bit of a black pepperiness at the back of the palate. in the back of the throat, just ever so slight amounts of it. So I forget exactly what I rated this the last time I reviewed this. I think I drank it and I immediately gave it an A. So there you go. And I hadn't even had New England IPAs before this time, before this first beer in the style. So I am still going to give it an A. I don't think I'm going to give it quite as high of a rating as the other people in my community that make these style of beers. But, 93, 94 at least. I don't know if it's number 2 in the world, but I'm liking it a lot. So that's all that.
I was thinking in the same area also. It's excellent, but it doesn't rate in the 98s and 99, world class area.
I might be so inclined to drop it down to that, just a plain old 93. But I like beers, like probably my favorite IPA is still Congress Street from
Trillium, right?
I think the higher rated one and the one that's more beloved in the community is probably their double dry hopped. But to me, it's already good enough where it is. You don't need to do extra special things to it. And I think that's almost where Stone IPA or Stone beers and maybe even Ballast Point. I'm not saying that they do it wrong, but they kind of do. They try to keep a beer out for a long time and keep the name relevant by making tons and tons of different variants of it. I mean, look how many Sculpins there are. Look how many IPA or Enjoy by IPA series that Stone has, and they're trying to keep those beers the name recognition there, and trying to keep it as long on the shelves as possible by they keep reinventing the beer. And for me personally, if the standard old original product isn't better than your variants, then you didn't even need to make the variants.
This is still very fine beer, though.
Yeah, you can be hard pressed to get this beer. I just personally think, which is one of the reasonings I'm not going to give it such a 99 or 100 rating, is I just don't think it's as good as everybody else that's making these styles. I think it's better than a lot of people. I don't think it's better than some people, but I think it's so easy to get IPAs of at least this quality in the New England style that you almost don't have to bust your ass to try to get these beers. Not like you would never drink this ever again, and not like if somebody gave it to you, you wouldn't be shocked and floored like the both of us were when they gave it to us.
Well, I think I mentioned this to you, Eric, before. 6 Point has been in my area, also in Brooklyn, has been doing these distribution things where you buy the beers in advance and then you go to their brewery to pick them up. They had a New England one called a Smoothie, and that was a 7.2 with 25 IBUs. This is obviously higher IBUs than that. So, and it's a little bit less, but that was good because it was so smooth. This is not so smooth. It goes down easy.
Yeah. You know what? You mentioned a good thing about the IBUs. I typically don't find, and even in this beer too, although it is heavily hopped and it does have somewhat of an aggressive bitterness, depending on who you ask, I would say it's got somewhat of a assertive bitterness. But I typically find that in a lot of really well-made New England style IPAs, there's usually a pretty good balance between the flavors that the hops are giving you, some of the bready malt component, and the bitterness. I don't usually find like these are aggressively bitter and so unbalanced that you can't taste anything else that has been brewed into this beer. Like you can only taste hops and you're only tasting bitterness. In this beer, sure, that's sort of where they were going with it, but I'm finding so many other flavors I can pick out of it than just assertive bitterness.
Right. It's just a component.
Yep. And we didn't even mention it, but we mentioned the body of the beer. I thought it was on the medium to full, on the medium side. But I also find it, even that it's 8%, that it's very crisp. I'd say after a while, it is pretty clean. And at 8%, it has a high drinkability.
It definitely does, and the alcohol is well masked in it. You can't tell. This actually tastes more like a straight IPA.
Absolutely. So, I don't know what else to say about Heady Topper than It is the one and only that people wait in line all day for. And it's just one to try if you can somehow acquire it. I don't remember the website. And if I had the website, I would not post it because it's probably not the most legal thing to do. But there was a website that I found like maybe a month or two ago that was, I don't know if it was one person running it or who was running it, but this website was hosting all of these 16-ounce cans of like ultra rare different kinds of IPAs. Not a lot of beers, but they had several different beers that you could buy. And I remember them having Heady Topper. You could buy an unopened can of Heady Topper for a whopping $15 before shipping. It's like, wow. Yeah, this beer is pretty phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But it is not $15 good.
No, I agree.
Hell no.
I agree.
I don't think it's $8 good, but I probably, if I were in Vermont, I probably would buy it for $8.
My friends had to wait on a line, but it wasn't a line like the ones at Other Half. It was a line in a liquor store, and they only had so many total cases to sell, kind of thing. But they were able to get it.
The other thing that probably, we mentioned it earlier, I'm going to read a little bit from the back of the can because it almost looks like a stone beer with its terminologies on it. But the one thing that probably doesn't really sit well with most folks about this beer is, as we mentioned earlier, where's the date?
There's no date on it
anywhere, which is kind of a shame. But we have to assume for how high this is, how high this beer turns around, that it's got to be pretty fresh unless somebody was sitting on it for a while. They gave it to you. So yeah, Heady Topper, as they say, is an American double India Pale Ale. The beer is not intended to be the biggest or most bitter. It is meant to give you wave after wave of hoppy goodness on your palate. Tremendous amounts of American hops will creep up on you and leave you with a dense hoppy finish in your mouth. So drinkable, it's scary. And then they also say, what do they say? We are committed to providing you with an unfiltered and unpasteurized hop experience. Why do I recommend that you drink it from the can? Quite simply, to ensure a delightful hop experience. The act of pouring it in a glass smells nice, but it releases essential hop aromas that we have worked hard to retain. If you must pour it into a glass, you may find that some of the hop resins have settled to the bottom. Leave them in the can when pouring. The beer is perishable and at its best when it's young, fresh, and hazy. Keep cold, but not ice cold. Drink this beer immediately. We are always making more. From the Alchemist. Actually, I said it was in Stowe, Vermont. My can says they're out of Waterbury, Vermont.
I think they may have a second brewery because what they did was the demand was so high. I think there's a second brewery. So there might be one in Stowe and one in Waterbury.
I feel like at one point in time when this beer came out, that Heady Topper was the only beer that they made at the Alchemist.
It was their first beer for a long time until they came out with, like we said before, those other two that you have, the Crusher and the Focal Banger.
I'm going to be looking forward.
And you're going to enjoy those too. I haven't had the Focal Banger, but the Crusher is really good.
I'm going to try those I'm going to try those on a review. So we got a couple of guys, 3 of them. We got Friar Tuck and Backwoods Billy Craft Beer Reviews and John and Neil that are watching. Hello, everybody. Everybody's trying to get John and Neil to do reviews. That would be great. Do it up. Backwoods Billy says, Utopia from Samuel Adams, $200 a bottle. Yikes. Kind of off topic, but it would be nice to try that beer, even though it's like 22%, like a brandy almost. And yeah, that is too much for beer.
And supposedly it's hard to get, believe it or not, because it's in such limited release, even at that price.
There have even been crazy enough people to put it on eBay and try to sell it before eBay figures out, oh, they're trying to sell alcohol. We have to close down that auction. So even YouTube or even eBay people try to sell that crazy beer. Friar Tuck asked, did you tell the story about this brewery beforehand about the flood? And I don't remember anything about the flood. So
yeah, I don't know.
Go look up the Alchemist, the flood. Go look it up, says Friar Tuck. Backwoods Billy has subscribed to my channel. Thank you, sir. And That's all I got. I don't know, Neil. Do you have any closing thoughts on Heady
No, I
Topper?
actually think it's a fine beer. It's very hard to think of it as the second best beer in the world, but it certainly, as a double IPA, is an extremely good beer. Very good.
I'm gonna share. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm gonna share the rest of the contents of that can with my buddy Dave when he comes over in a few minutes, and I have a bottle still for him of the last beer that Michael Kormaroff and I reviewed, which was the I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly because I think it's pronounced Warta, or how do you pronounce it? I don't even remember. Zytek or
Zwick.
Yeah, Zwick. Yeah, Zwick Porter from Poland. I got him a bottle, so we'll see what he thinks of that. So I guess we kind of beat Heady Topper to a pulp here. New England IPAs, they're pretty popular. They're pretty common these days. Are they ever going to totally take over IPAs as we know it? And are people going to stop drinking West Coast IPAs because they love Heady Topper and these kind of beers so much? No, I don't think so, but I think they're a really great addition to your beer drinking repertoire if you can find them. So I give it a 93. I think
I gave it a 93 as well.
Agrees with that. We're going to sign off here. We're rambling. Drink amazing, amazing beers. Thank you, people that provide this to us for this review. And until next time, keep tasting these great beers. I say cheers to you. I say cheers to you, Michael Kormaroff.
Enjoy.
And we'll see you all soon. Cheers.